World Health Organization tags climate change as the biggest health threat facing humanity. It adds that intense rainfall, frequent floods, forest fires, and droughts triggered by climate change are already impacting health and livelihood and causing huge sufferings, mental health issues, deaths, and displacement globally. Ahead of World Health Day, we are joined by Dia Mirza, actor, eco-investor, UN Environment Goodwill Ambassador, and UN Secretary General's advocate for SDGs to discuss the link between climate change and human health. Thank you so much, Dia, for joining us today and always supporting our campaign. To begin with, Dia, I would like to ask you that climate change and global warming are on a rise, and it's evident with heat waves, off seasonal rain, and extreme weather conditions. The latest IPCC report has said that the window to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius is rapidly narrowing. Dia, what do you think is needed to address this crisis?
Uh, it needs engagement, it needs information spreading fast and wide, the accurate information. I think more than ever before, we need everybody everywhere to acknowledge the fact that human health, peace, progress, and our future is completely dependent on the health of the planet. The IPCC report makes it clear that climate change is impacting nature and, of course, people, and that it's the most vulnerable communities who have historically contributed the least to the climate crisis who are being disproportionately affected. Um, as temperatures rise, so do, of course, the risks of climate hazards. We're bearing witness to a tragic consequence, as you mentioned in your question, of a 1.1 degree Celsius temperature rise already. And that itself is impacting, human health, livelihoods, well-being everywhere, right? Um, I think inaction on the climate crisis is going to not just harm humanity's future, uh, but it's going to, just change the every system on the planet, and that is something that we're beginning to bear witness of, which is why governments, businesses, groups, individuals, all of us have the imperative to act now. And act now is not something that we speak of loosely. It's something that really requires an immediacy and urgency of understanding the science and then implementing it and bringing about the transformations that we need. I think one of the ways that we can really transform and impact big change is transforming the food system, which is critical to addressing climate change. The food system is responsible for about a third of the total greenhouse gas emissions, with the agricultural production, changes in land use, supply chain activities, which are the largest contributors. And this requires transformations from not just us as individuals shifting diets, but protecting natural ecosystems, improving food production, decarbonizing the food chain. I think we need to really see and understand the connection between our patterns of daily consumption, what is
Yeah.
the source of energy that's coming into our homes, what is powering our lives, and how we need to change that and shift to renewable energy, shift to alternatives that are supercharged by active participation by everyone everywhere. And, you know, we keep talking about circularity, but circularity is something that has to really be embraced by all aspects of society. Every, stakeholder, everyone, everywhere has to embrace circularity. I'll quote the Secretary General here, where he says that the shift to renewable energy and other alternatives to fossil fuels needs to be supercharged, right?
Yeah.
And he's called for an end to the global addiction to fossil fuels. And he said that we really need to jumpstart the renewables revolution. Of course, it's started, but we need to make it even more swift and wide and accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
And of course, that will require investing in new technologies, ensuring a just and equitable transition. And equitable is a word that I don't use loosely here. I think it's something
Yeah.
that we need to focus on. And there are two other aspects to this answer. One is that We require deep transformation. That, of course, requires embracing circularity, keeping resources in the economy out of the environment through reuse. And I'm talking about plastic here. I'm talking about, spewage from industry, affluents. So I'm talking about how we can reuse, repurpose, repair, and do so much more, and reduce the emissions from the producing and consumption industry, and change that whole attitude of take, make, waste economy that harms the planet, and then a more circular economy where we're completely cognizant and responsible of how we're taking from the planet, how we're making. So what is the composition of what we're making, and how are we not wasting? So we're not sending it back into the natural world in a form that is hazardous to the natural world and, of course, human health, but also not wasting at all. So taking it back and repurposing it, reusing it.
Dia, how do you think climate change is linked to the health of crises like malnutrition, anemia, and even pandemics?
Oh, it's deeply linked, Ambika. Climate change and human health are intertwined. Climate change threatens access to clean air, safe drinking water, nutritious food, safe shelter for humans and animals alike, and has the potential to undermine decades of progress in global health. Climate change, of course, we know causes droughts, floods, heat waves, and other extreme weather events. That in turn reduces crop yield, food production,
security.
Yes, it causes and leads to malnutrition, especially among vulnerable populations who rely on agriculture for their livelihoods and food. And then, of course, malnutrition can increase the risk of infectious diseases and other health problems. Climate change is also a major factor in disease emergence, and this is something that we've not paid enough attention to, and we really need to start focusing on this much more. Warmer temperatures and changes in rainfall patterns can create favorable conditions for disease transmission. These changes create and increase the risk of disease outbreaks and pandemics. The more carbon dioxide in the air can translate to lower nutritional quality of certain grains and legumes, right? Carbon dioxide in the air can also lead to an increased risk of zinc and iron deficiency among broad swaths of global populations. Climate change can worsen air quality, especially in urban areas, due to increased heat and changes in weather patterns. I think we can all recognize that statement so well right now, given the kind of, increase in temperatures we've been experiencing, and of course the levels of pollution we've been experiencing. And of course, now we all know what air pollution does. It causes respiratory, cardiovascular, and all kinds of diseases. And of course, the risk of infectious diseases and other health problems.
The theme of World Health Day 2023 is Health for All. How can we achieve this goal and ensure we leave no one behind, given the world is facing both a climate and health crisis?
I think, Ambika, my answers have kind of pointed to the fact that
how do
we cannot achieve the goal of health for all unless we ensure no one is left behind in the face of the climate and health crisis. And there are a number of approaches that we can take, right? We need to prioritize equitable access to healthcare. We need to promote health education and awareness. We need to strengthen health systems by addressing social determinants of health and promoting sustainable and healthy living practices that we can all implement at an individual level, and of course at a, like a government
larger.
And then, of course, the approaches that can help guide us to the path to protect human health and well-being in the face of interconnected challenges posed by climate change and health disparities. So I think more and more people need to recognize that when you protect forests, when you protect biodiversity, when you go clean up beaches, when you refuse single-use plastics, when you are more energy efficient in your consumption, when you just bring more mindful practices to your daily life, you can make a big difference.
Some of our social media followers have also sent questions for you. Chirag is asking, what are the challenges in environmental conservation in India?
There has been a model of development that the Western world adopted that has led us down this path, that has brought us to um, this very, very vulnerable point in human history, right? Which is a path of use and waste, which is a path of destruction and a completely broken relationship with nature, where we just kept taking from the natural world without realizing that you need to give back too. And we as human beings cannot survive, be healthy, and actually have genuine progress if we don't sustain the natural world and the balance of the natural world. We can't keep putting carbon in the air and thinking, oh, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And this model of development is one that we are continuing in many parts of the world, are continuing to move forward on. And that to me is the biggest detriment, because unless and until everyone everywhere, and when I say everyone everywhere, I mean industries, corporations, individuals, policy, government, everyone needs to start acting on and responding to the Paris Agreement and saying, the way we build our roads, the way we create businesses, the way we manufacture products, the way we farm, the way we, everything that we do has to be in tandem with the Paris Agreement. And I feel that there is not enough effort being made to act on the Paris Agreement.
The next question is from Abzar Ali. He's asking, ma'am, what can we do about climate change? In fact, it's interesting that how people want to be a part of this change and do their bit.
I think it first starts with the awareness and consciousness that everything that you use in your everyday life comes from the earth and needs to go back to the earth in a form that is not polluting of the earth and is not harmful to the earth. So stop to question the ingredients or the composition of your soaps, your cleaning agents at home. Think of the food items that you're eating, where are they coming from? Of course, try and avoid buying and using unnecessarily packaged food. So at least your fresh fruits and vegetables, try and make sure they're seasonal and they're local and they're not packaged in plastic. If you can revert back to the age-old practice of buying pulses and cereals and grains in wholesale and storing at home in steel and glass barnis and bartans, like we used to, like our grandparents used to.
Yeah.
You would be making a huge contribution, because you'd be reducing your plastic waste. Then of course, I think something that we can all do is manage your waste scientifically at home. Segregate, compost, be responsible about how you dispose of your e-waste, how you dispose of your other items of waste, reduce consumption, fix those leaking taps, make sure you're not wasting electricity or water. If you are living in a co-op or a large building, try and fit water gauge systems that that are electronic, that have sensors, so that avoids my God, gallons of water wastage because of overflows. But the point is that once you set your mind to it, there are many ways that you can bring about change, on all your habits, your food habits, the clothes that you wear, the things that you do. But I think one of the things that can really also help make a difference, apart from the practices that you can implement at home, is helping and supporting civil society organizations that are working towards the protection of and of course the advocacy for clean air and forests and wildlife. And then of course, if you are an investor and you want to invest your savings and your money, try and allocate your savings or your money and invest it into organizations and companies that are that have sustainable and green practices, that are actually innovating products or are doing business that is clean and green in the most genuine sense of the word.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today and always supporting the Banega Swasth India campaign. It was a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you once again.